Stockings are a holiday staple, and there's something so special about making them by hand. Today we're making a felt one that will be part of your Christmas tradition for years to come. I'm Kirsten Dunn, and this is Dunn DIY. So the first step of making your stocking is cutting out the shape. So I'm just using an old stocking that I have laying around as a guide. When you have that all traced out, we're gonna cut this out. Something to keep in mind when you're cutting is that you're gonna wanna leave a little bit of extra space around the edges so that you have room for a seam. So next, we're gonna draw the shapes that are gonna go on the front of your stocking. You can use our templates or you can draw your own. Just get creative and have fun. So we have all of the paper shapes cut out, and now we're going to trace them onto the felt and cut them out again. Place all of your shapes on the stocking and pin them in place for sewing. If you're gonna do a cuff at the top, fold it over and kind of position everything out and see how it looks with that folded over at the top. It's time to sew on the shapes. We're using a sewing machine to do this and white thread, so it's really more of a decorative look. You can also do this by hand with gray thread and get something really subtle that you're barely gonna notice. We're gonna be sewing these shapes on with a very narrow seam, 1/8 of an inch or even less if you can manage it. So just some tips on sewing these on. You're gonna wanna start at the base of each of these little plants and work your way up along the side. And on these really narrow sections, you're gonna wanna just go straight up the middle and then around and then straight back down the middle. So next, we're gonna put the front and back together, right sides facing each other, and we're gonna pin them in place and sew. Now that the stocking is turned right side out, you'll notice that these seams tend to kind of curl in on themselves. So we're gonna take a warm iron, make sure it's not too hot because this is wool, and we're gonna just press those down. Out of the scrap material that we have left over, we're gonna cut out a handle. And we're gonna measure a handle that's about 5.5 inches long and about 1/2 inch wide, and we're just gonna cut that out. We're gonna take a needle and thread and we're gonna sew that on by hand. So we're gonna place this right in the upper corner of the stocking. And when you sew this on, you're gonna wanna make sure that you sew it onto the inside of the stocking and not through into the cuff. This next step is just adding some decoration to your stocking. So we're gonna take this string of pom-poms and we're gonna pin them under the edge of the cuff, and then we're gonna sew them down. So next, we're cutting out a name tag. When you have that cut out, you can use this tag to embroider someone's name. Today, we're keeping it really simple and just going with initials. Now all you have to do is wait for Santa.